What's up, family? Welcome back to the Stop Sinking Show, where we go from struggle to flow. There is a phenomenon I have witnessed in my life, and I'm sure it is available for you to witness in yours, that makes it very clear that you are being guided. The only obstruction to seeing that guidance is that you look for it in all the wrong places. You think guidance looks like being shown the way, when in the context of our life, most of the time, it does not show up as clearly. It shows up as pain. It shows up as discomfort. It shows up as every aching feeling that at the least tells you this is not the way. It shows up with red flags in feelings form. And because we are so used to coping with, escaping from, and numbing our feelings out, numbing of discomfort out, we miss the entire divine message embedded in them. And so we misinterpret our guidance and miss our growth. There's signs all around us, but we just get so used to living with our new normal, this new discomfort, this new pain, when it should really be awakening us instead to what adventure we are being called to. I'll call on a few unassuming discomforts in my own life and how they are pointing at me to get better, not get bent. Things I can easily ignore and just get used to. But instead, God is inviting me in, not brushing me away. If I choose to see it this way, that is, instead of just feeling bad for myself and indulge in self-pity. I'll start with the discomfort of my living situation. Ever since I left New York in 2016, I have never truly felt home. And maybe I don't even know what it means to feel at home. So I could be looking at this the wrong way completely. Maybe it's just a sense of familiarity and time accumulated that I have in New York versus any other place like I ended up living in, like California for many years and Florida and India. Still not as many years as New York. Still, though, only New York feels like home. Which is also ironic because I don't even like New York when I visit it. It's too cold. It gets like 3 months of good weather scattered throughout the year. And I'm not going to say the people here are any different than anywhere else, even though New York does get a bad rap for the people being cold too. There does seem to be a major difference in how much they seem to enjoy life here versus a more relaxed work atmosphere like in California. But there's trade-offs for everything in life, I guess. What point I'm trying to make here is, since I left New York, which is because of many reasons like the weather and a desire to be around more creative people doing things I want to be doing, which New York is a thinner market for than a place like California where people make just as much money, if not more money, but do it in an untraditional sense, more in creative ways, instead of just the suit and tie finance sector that New York is known for. Everyone here in New York is stuck in the grind, and it doesn't seem like they enjoy life that much, which I attribute to the weather as well a little bit. But either way, to show how my discomfort in New York led me to other places, I went to Cali. And Cali has its own issues now that has kept me from going back. Florida, which is where I lived for the last year, I have terrible allergies in. I'm borderline and asthmatic, wheezing for breath there. India, which is the other place that I lived, is an extreme time zone difference from the United States, which makes it very difficult to manage my life here while being there. So in all of these places, I have yet to figure out where I belong. I almost feel like I don't belong anywhere, or belong everywhere, I guess. But each place I have been in has brought just enough discomfort that it does not feel like this is the place. It keeps me unsettled and still searching, nudging me into the next chapter and the next, until maybe I find the place I belong and maybe figure out how to live in each place a couple of the months of the year to experience the best of it and minimize the worst of it. But being able to enable even that is its own call to adventure that requires money and a level of financial stability. So far, it's just a dream, but a compelling one. That's my living situation. Now let's talk a bit about my funny transportation story and the discomfort that brings. I have 2 cars, both older models, but one only has like 25,000 miles on it, so it's only gotten old by age, not by wear and tear. The other car is what I prefer to drive because it's a stick shift and fun, but that car is even older and has much more wear and tear. I used it for work for many years. And many years ago in it, the AC stopped working, and I never bothered to refill it or service it. I lived in Orange County in California, and it never got hot enough to care for an AC. But in Florida, AC is absolutely a must unless you want to show up sweaty wherever you are going after even a 10-minute drive. But I just dealt with it. I mostly only go to the gym, so it didn't matter. No one else is in the car with me either, so I'm not inconveniencing anyone else except for maybe my mother, who gets in there every now and then, maybe once every 6 months. So it's just meant I'm putting myself in discomfort. And as a normal coping human would do, I just accepted my fate and said, I'll deal with it, and just open the windows. And so I did. I would open the passenger side window and my moonroof, and I have good cross flow of air doing that. I don't use the sunroof because the sunroof is tinted, and opening it would just let the hot Florida sun beat directly on me in the car, which is not really worth the little bit of air that sunroof brings in. So the slight crack on the moonroof, it is. Uncomfortable enough, yes, it's not an AC, but still enough to get by, enough to breathe. Then the button of my passenger side window broke on the driver's side where I open it. It gets stuck in the press down position. So then you can't really roll the window back up unless you mess with the button for a while and find the proper spot where the top button plastic grabs the inside button mechanism and rolls the window up. Not something I want to play around with too much because it might end up leaving me with a stuck open window and a bigger problem to solve. So, okay, I stopped rolling down the passenger window. A little more discomfort again. Sure, I'll just do the next best thing. I started rolling down the driver's side window. Weeks go by. New adjustment, more air while I'm driving, throws me off a little bit when I'm driving, but new way to cope with that discomfort. And it was fine. The cross flow of wind was now driver's side window and moonroof, and it was still enough to get by without the AC. And then my driver's side window breaks. It dislodges from the track inside the door if you roll it down too much. So you can now really only roll it down a crack, because a little more and it goes crooked and gets stuck, and now you have to fight with it to get it to work again and get it right back on the track. So now I have no AC, no passenger side window, and a small crack that I can have on my driver's side, and a cracked moonroof. Not the best, but just enough room to breathe. Not an inch more than that. Just enough to breathe. Now I can sit here and curse my luck and feel down about the mounting cost of repairs that all these things will bring, which I have clearly avoided for a reason, or I would have just gotten the AC fixed in the first place. But I would probably just reluctantly drive my other car before I spend a bunch of money on this one until I really want to, or have to. But the point is, the fact that I can't freely spend money on it is being made real clear to me. And while I can sit here and stress about the very real situation that is my current finances, what the stress is offset by is the immense gratitude that God is literally using these things as a way to nudge me to go do more and go be more. I would only go into self-pity mode if I had to accept this as my bad lot in life. If I had to accept that I'm stuck with this situation forever. If I had to accept that it will never get any better. But that isn't true. And the very fact that this motivates me instead of diminishing me, instead of discouraging me, tells me that it's not the acceptance muscle that needs work, that needs to work out, but the ambition muscle that does, the action muscle that does. The one that looks at this and goes out and gets more to shrink the importance of this little window situation in size by overpowering it through action and what I accomplish and what it leads me towards. It is the Stoics who believe the impediment to action advances the action. What stands in the way becomes the way. If you choose to, you can look at all the discomforts in your life, all the obstacles, as not barriers, not walls, but opportunities for progress, as a catalyst, an impetus to propel you into the next chapter in your life, the push that you need. These challenges, these things that cause us pain, are pointing at our inadequacies, at where we have yet to firm ourselves up, where we are still left vulnerable. They are not misfortunes to lament, but chances to exercise and put to test our virtues and resilience. C.S. Lewis says, God whispers to us in our pleasure, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse, to awaken a deaf world. Why does God permit suffering, he asks himself, arguing back that pain has a purpose, that it is the best tool for spiritual growth. For our pain brings us closer to God. And pain in itself is so undeniable in its prowess, in its power to awaken, that even the deaf, too caught up in their life, too unavailable and unable to listen, even they will hear his call and be prompted to pay attention. God uses hardship to shape us, to draw us closer, to redirect our path, even to earn our gratitude. Even in agony, there is purpose and presence. If you just respond to the prompt and reflect. There's plenty available in your life, around you right now, that is begging and clawing at you for your careful attention, for your considered respect. But you go on about your life, getting used to that tug, that dull ache, that discomfort, assimilating the pain into your being, instead of assuming the pain is calling your being to a higher place, to a higher you. In my gratitude, I remember this. I might not be where I want to be, but thank you for not just leaving me where I can't breathe, at least keeping me awakened to where I can't breathe. At least here I can breathe. At least here I can see the divinity in the discomfort, because I want more than to struggle for breath. I need more than this gasp of air. What I need is more than just enough room to breathe. And it's clear you want this for me too. That this pain you permit isn't a life sentence. It's a life calling. It is your liberation, your guidance to grow. I love you, family. Stay true always. I see you on the next show.